Հաղորդման հովանավոր Dignity Health Glendale Memorial Hospital.
Hi, my name is Dr. Manuel Momjin. I'm practicing at Dignity Health Glendale Memorial Hospital. For common colds, most people don't know when they need to stay home or when they need to go and see the doctor. If you're having fevers for more than 3 days, cough that just doesn't go away, shortness of breath, or chest pain, I would recommend that you go and consult with your doctor.
Բարի երեկո սիրելի բարեկամներ, այսօրվա մեր հայտակիրն է Նևադա նահանգին ընտրություններու մասին։ Ինչու Նևադա նահանգին։ Մենք ունենք շատ հայտնի եւ հռչակավոր հայրենի թիմը, որ գուզե Նևադա նահանգին սենատորը ըլլալ։ Պարոն Դանի Tarkanian-ը այսօր մեր ստուդիոյի մեջն է եւ մենք պիտի զրուցենք իր կամպեյնի մասին Նևադա նահանգին մեջ։
Դենիել Ջան Tarkanian, Միացյալ Նահանգների Սենատի թեկնածու, ծնվել է 1961 թվականի դեկտեմբերի 18-ին Կալիֆոռնիայի Ռեդլենդս քաղաքում։ Ավարտել է Սան Դիեգոյի համալսարանի իրավաբանական դպրոցը։ Tarkanian-ի կոմերցիոն անշարժ գույքի զարգացման ընկերությանն է պատկանում 100,000 քառակուսի ոտնաչափ տարածքով Tarkanian մասնագիտական կենտրոնը։ Դենի Tarkanian-ը Նևադայի բասկետբոլային ոչ շահութաբեր կազմակերպության հիմնադիրն է։ Այս կազմակերպության շրջանակներում Նևադա նահանգի հազարավոր մանուկներ եւ երիտասարդներ սպորտի եւ առաջնորդության հմտությունների կրթություն են ստանում։ 2004 թվականին Դենի Tarkanian-ը մեկնարկեց իր հասարակական եւ քաղաքական գործունեությունը, հանրապետական կուսակցության կողմից առաջնորդվելով որպես նահանգային սենատի թեկնածու։ Նա նաև 2016-ի կոնգրեսի հանրապետական թեկնածուն էր, սակայն 1%-ի տարբերությամբ պարտություն կրեց։ Դենին հարավային Նևադայի միակ հանրապետական թեկնածուն էր, ով ողջ նախընտրական պայքարի ընթացքում աջակցում էր նախագահական թեկնածու Դոնալդ Թրամփին։ Դենին բասկետբոլի հայտնի մարզիչ Ջերի Tarkanian-ի որդին է։ Դենի Tarkanian-ի մայրը Լուիսը իր հերթին հիմնադրել է լսողության խանգարումներով անձանց համար նախատեսված Կալիֆոռնիայի առաջին մասնավոր ուսումնական հաստատությունը եւ այժմ Լաս Վեգասի քաղաքային խորհրդի անդամ է։ Դենին եւ իր կինը Էմի Tarkanian-ը 4 զավակի ծնող են։
Սիրելի բարեկամներ, ինչպես ասի, մեր ստուդիոյի մեջն է, մեր հյուրն է պարոն Դանի Tarkanian-ը, որ Նևադա նահանգին սենատի կամպեյնին պիտի մասնակցի քալդարի եւ որ primary-ները լան եւ general ընտրությունը եթե հաջողի primary ընտրության մեջ։ Danny, welcome.
Thank you for having me on
my show.
Well, of course, thank you for having me on your show. It's wonderful.
Thank you. You want to say a little bit, our public knows who you are and your family. Yeah. Tarkanian family been like a household name in Southern California, plus Nevada too. But for Armenian Americans, your dad and so forth had a great name. Can you just elaborate a little bit on your family background?
Sure. I think most people know my father as what I consider the greatest college basketball coach in the history of sports. But with respect to myself, I was raised in that environment. So I was my father's ball boy. I played on his team in 1981 to 84 at UNLV, and then I was his assistant coach at Fresno State, and I was even his attorney through some of his legal battles when he was fighting the NC2A. But my dad always wanted me to get out of sports. He thought it was too dirty of a place, and he said, "You're too honest for this type of a profession." So he got me convinced to go to law school, and I went to University of San Diego School of Law, came back to Las Vegas. I practiced law for 7 years, and I just wasn't enjoying sitting in an office with a suit and tie, not being more active. I like being out and talking to people and being more engaged in what's going on. So I got into the real estate business, and I've been doing different real estate projects, from buying and selling real estate to now we've built a commercial center in Las Vegas called the Tarkanian Professional Center. We built that, the first building was open and running on August of 2007. So anybody who knows the time of the recession knows you couldn't have picked a worse time to go vertical with that type of a building. But we survived after 10 years. We're now 100% leased in all 3 of our buildings, and now we're doing very, very well. I also started the Tarkanian Basketball Academy, which is the largest private profit sports facility in Southern Nevada. We work with young kids and we teach them the life lessons you learn through playing sports, something that I was able to achieve by growing up and having my father as a coach, and we're trying to give that opportunity to other kids. 20% of the people that come in our academy are on some type of scholarship based upon their financial situation. I got married to a really wonderful lady out of Fresno, California. I met her when my father was coaching there. Her name is Amy. And we have 4 great kids. My oldest daughter is named after my mother, Lois. She's 14. Ava and Ashley are twins. They're 12. And I have a 7-year-old little boy named Jerry.
After your dad?
After my dad, absolutely.
When did you move to Nevada, to Las Vegas?
When I was 11.
Fresno, from San Diego?
Well, actually, I was born in Redlands, California.
Oh, okay.
And my dad was coaching at Riverside City College. Then he got the job at Pasadena City College when I was 4 years old. We lived there for 2 years and Huntington Beach for 5, and we moved to Las Vegas when I was 11.
So you have a Southern California roots. You know,
I guess
in
great,
Pasadena, Huntington Beach.
Great memory of the times we had here in Southern California. Plus, we have a lot of our relatives. My dad's brother has lived in Arcadia almost his entire life. He was a football coach at PCC, Pasadena City College.
Was your dad okay? He thought basketball was a dirty business. He thought politics was not a dirty business.
That's why I said it's. He thinks intercollegiate sports is a dirty business because there's so much cheating that goes on, and you're seeing that now with the stories that are coming out with the FBI investigation that where there's 5 coaches arrested. So, but it's funny that he was pretty much behind me running for public office, but that's much more dirty than college sports, much more.
When was the first time you ran for public office?
2004.
As what? As
I ran a state Senate seat, ran against an incumbent that had been there for 12 years, and it was a district that was 18.5% more Democrats, and George W. Bush lost. It was a presidential election. He lost that district by 20%. I lost by 7, but I was right there at the end of the race with a chance to win, and my opponent came out and made up some really spurious and horrible allegations, and I sued him for defamation. I won the first defamation lawsuit for a politician in Nevada's history in 2009.
Okay, what's the next campaign you run besides the state?
If we go through all this, we're going to run out of time. One thing I have is I
have
the perseverance of the Armenian heritage. I ran for Secretary of State in 2006 against the governor's son, who was a governor for 10 years, and he beat me pretty good. He beat me by 8%. In 2010, I ran in the U.S. Senate primary, and I had a great opportunity to win that race, was leading in the polls coming down to the end. And if you remember that time, it was a Tea Party movement, and the Tea Party Express came out and pumped in $2 million into one of my opponents, and she ended up winning the race and losing to Harry Reid in the general election.
Wow.
And many people in Las Vegas, myself included, feel that if I would have won that primary, I would have been able to take Harry Reid out in 2010, and our country wouldn't have suffered for these past 6 years of him in office. Then I ran in 2012, and again, another poor choice of a race. I ran for Congress. It was an open seat, but it was a really tough district, 14.5% more Democrats, and President Obama targeted the district because it was an area that had the highest percent of African Americans in it. I ended up losing by 8%. I made up 6.5% of the voting registration, but it wasn't enough. And last race was the first one that I was in that I should have won. It was a 1%. I lost by 1%. It was a 2.5% Democrat advantage. Still, again, made up the voter registration, but not enough. Well, there were a lot of things that happened in that race. Nevada was one of the only states in the country that was a battleground state that went Democrat instead of Republican. Every single Republican in the state lost. And I think a big part of that was the entire top of the Republican ticket, the governor, the senator, the Senate candidate, the congressional person who was running for re-election, all came out and said they would never vote for Donald Trump and they didn't want him as our nominee. I stood up for Donald Trump to the very end. My dad had always taught me the importance of loyalty, that you stand up for what you believe in, you don't do what's politically expedient. And I felt very strongly that Donald Trump would be a better president than Hillary Clinton. So I stayed loyal to him. But there were enough people that were on the fence that saw all the other Republicans say they wouldn't vote for Trump, that those undecideds all went against the Republican Party at the time. And I lost by 1%, the closest race Nevada had.
But Donald Trump lost Nevada, right?
Right. So like I mentioned, it's one of the few. This and Wisconsin are the only two states that were close that Donald Trump did win, and Nevada was much closer than Wisconsin.
What is the population of Nevada, let's say?
Well, Clark County is over 2 million now. I don't know what the rest of the state is. Probably a little bit less than 3 million. When I first moved there was 600,000.
600,000, probably, yes. And most of it in Las Vegas.
Well, yes, absolutely.
Is the state registration between Democrats and Republicans pretty close, or Democrats are outnumbering?
Democrats right now have a 6% advantage, but they always end up losing 2 to 3% when they clean the rolls out and they check to make sure the people that are registered are active voters. So it'll be probably 3% when they clean the rolls out, which will be beginning of February. And then the Democrats really do a good job at targeting and registering voters by Election Day, so they usually move it up a couple more points. So you're looking at usually 4 to 5 points.
Difference between Republicans and...
Yes.
Now, we're going to take a very short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the election that, you know, I'm a little bit familiar because I met you around these election time for the Congress, and I felt that you will win. You have a great chance to win that election. Came very close. Because of the national politics maybe played a role in your defeat. Unfortunately, it was very less than 1% of you know, voters between your opponent and yourself. And so we'll talk about that when we come back.
Sounds good.
Սեր պայգամներ, գարշ տատրեմեդը վիդի վերաթանակ մեր հայդակրին և վիդի խուսինք բարոն Դանի Թարքենյանին պլանի մասին հատկապես կուզե նորեն կեմպենի երթալ Սենետ Սիթին Նևադային և այդ մասին վիդի in detail վիդի հարցնեն գիրեն։ Սիրելի պայգամներ, ինչպես ասիք, մեր հայդակիրն է բանոն Դանի Թարքենյանը Նևադայեն եւ այդ մասին գզրուցենք իր կեմպենի մասին։ Danny, last year I felt very strongly, and so did most of the people in Southern California who supported you. By the way, it was a very strong support among Armenian Americans to see one of us to be in Congress, and we put very much effort. I know we can't vote, but financially and donations, we were pretty generous towards your campaign.
Extremely generous. Extremely generous.
Yeah. Did you ever analyze what happened? Why did I lose?
I went through every precinct to determine how I did compared to my opponent. Then I went through every precinct to determine how I did compared to the other Republican candidates, Joe Heck, who was in the Senate, and Donald Trump in my district. And what we found out was I actually outperformed them with Democrat voters by 1 to 2%, Trump and Heck. But I underperformed with the Republicans by about 2%, which means why wasn't I carrying the Republican base? Well, I ran in a really tough Republican primary that most people thought I was going to lose. I ran against the majority leader in the state Senate that had the governor, the senator, and virtually every elected official endorsing him. He outspent me 4 to 1, and we still beat him by 8%. But he never came around and endorsed me, nor did the governor, and I think we never got those people to come back into our tent. Secondly, the lady I ran against ran these television ads. Our race was the most expensive congressional race in the country last year. It was $18.5 million.
Wow.
They spent $7.5 million running negative ads against me that were substantially the same that I'd already won the defamation lawsuit on. And, you know, I'd sent her a cease and desist letter telling her she didn't take it down, we were going to sue her. She ran them anyways. And basically was saying I defrauded senior citizens. And we looked in those precincts, and I underperformed in the seniors by 2 or 3%. So those ads definitely had an effect.
Right. So she was running negative ads against you.
She was lying, defamatory, slanderous ads. I sued her. And
why would you not fight her right back?
What's that?
Why did you fight her back?
Yeah, that's a great question. I assume when you say fight her back, you're saying, why don't you respond with your own ads? Yeah. Well, first of all, one of it's a money game, and it was very expensive to buy television in Nevada the last race because of the really the contested Senate race and the president race being contested in Nevada, that the TV rates went very high. So I only have my personal money. She has her super PAC. So we had one ad left that we could have responded to. My wife, my mother, my best friend, the lady at the grocery store who bags her clothes, they all said, you got to respond to this. This is hurting us. So I went back and I talked with my guy who does my TV ads, my consultant, and my pollster, and they all said to me, Danny, you'll win it. If you take down the positive ad and respond to these negative ads, people are going to think they're true. I said, we got to do it. We have to do it. And they said, if you do it, you're going to lose. The bottom will drop out. And I listened to them. Big regret. I won't make that mistake again. One thing is, if you're going to try and not give up, you better learn why you made mistakes.
Exactly.
And this was a mistake I made. We didn't respond. That's why I sued the lady who ran those ads. I got the judge to say those ads that she said were not true. They were almost identical to the ones we'd already won the lawsuit on. She knew about the lawsuit, so we could show malice, and we had a substantial likelihood of success on the merits. So when I run against her in the general election, because I didn't say it, she's going to be my opponent in the general election in the Senate race.
I know, that's why I'm asking that question, because
so it's
she's the same person that's...
It was a one-point race that she beat me in a presidential election when more Democrats turn out, when all the Republican leading officials repudiated Trump, which means it divided our party, and she ran those ads. Those three things caused me to lose 1%. Well, one, it's going to be a non-presidential election. We'll have a better Republican turnout. Two, we don't have all the top elected officials divided in the GOP base. And three, and I think most importantly, is I had this lawsuit with the judge, who was a Democrat judge, by the way, so he's not biased, saying that she lied about me. She knew that they were lies, and she did it anyways. So we're going to run ads back saying, hey, don't believe me that these things she says about me aren't true. Listen to what the judge said. And is this the kind of person you want in Washington, D.C., someone that'll lie and do a character assassination of a long-time Las Vegas family just so she can get into Washington, D.C.? Is this how you want to reward somebody? I think it'll be a devastating against her, and I believe we have a great chance to beat her in the general election.
Let me ask you this fundamental basic question. You've been running campaigns now for almost 10 years. And this will be probably the biggest campaign because, you know, Senate seat. I mean, that's a major thing. And especially with an incumbent. I mean, that's very difficult. And Republican establishment, I'm sure the Senate majority leader, you know, look what happened in Alabama. They supported, but the person lost. But the establishment, the governor, will support your opponent,
yes.
Senator Heller, right? So it's going to be a very tough primary.
I actually think this primary is not going to be that tough, and I don't say it trying to be braggadocio. I say it because it's very similar to the guy I ran against in the congressional race, this majority leader in the state senate who had the party, the money, and the elected officials all supporting him. Look, I didn't pick to run in this race. I was going to run for the congressional race again.
Which is going to be open.
Which was an open seat, and I had a better chance to win that race. But I got calls from hundreds, calls, Facebook messages, texts, hundreds of people in Nevada that were political activists that my wife and I had met throughout the years that begged me and pleaded with me to run against this guy because the guy, one, he was a never-Trumper. He said he would never vote for Donald Trump. He promised to repeal Obamacare, and then he got up and he had a big press conference saying he'll never vote for the repeal of Obamacare because it doesn't give enough money to Medicaid. Then he's done some other things dealing with some other issues that flip-flopped at issues that really made Republicans mad at him. So they said, Danny, you can beat him. You need to get in this race. It's like your last congressional race. So they talked to me into running in the race. And since I've been in this, it's much better than that. You talked about McConnell coming in and helping the guys in Alabama. Well, Steve Bannon helped the other person in Alabama who won the race. Steve Bannon has met with me and has promised he's going to support me 100%. Breitbart's going to be fully engaged in reporting on our race. And I got a great chance of getting the Great America PAC to support me. I've never had this kind of support in any race before. I've always fought the Republican establishment guys in a primary, but I've never had the party behind me like I do this time. I got the entire Trump base support me in this race, and Trump won Nevada. He got more votes in the caucus than all other 11 candidates combined. Trump is very well liked in Nevada. It's hard to understand that maybe where you live out here in California. Yeah. But in Nevada,
well, because we're pretty much a Democratic state.
But in Nevada, he's very well liked. They all are behind me. They're the ones who encouraged me and talked me into running. And with the help that I'm getting from Steve Bannon and them, I think I got a good chance. Plus, I'm counting on the Armenian community. And as you mentioned in the last race, they went out, unbelievable what they did to help me raise the money to get our message out. And again, I was the closest race of anybody in Nevada. It wasn't like I lost and embarrassed myself or the people that supported me. It was a 1% race. Trump lost by more than that. The Senate person who everybody thought was going to win, he lost by more than that, Joe Heck. So I think that if I can get the Armenian community behind me again with the help I'm going to get from Steve Bannon and some of the national groups, I will beat a very, very weak GOP senator. It's not unheard of to beat an incumbent winner this week. In fact, the one poll that came out, the only independent poll that came out in the race, has me leading by 8%, and that was just 3 weeks into the race. And to show how vulnerable he is, they said, these are just Republican people. Do you like Dean Heller, what Dean Heller's doing, or do you not like him? 14% more people said they don't like what he's doing. Usually that might be the case when you count Democrats and independents.
Right.
But this is just Republicans
on the
that are saying
Republican
that.
side.
So he's in a world of trouble, and I just have to get the resources necessary to get the message out statewide.
Sure. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, we'll talk about resources, the Armenian community. What are some of your thoughts about the elections, politics, and Armenia? Սիրելի բարեկամներ, շատ կարճ տաթարեմ է պիտի վերադառնանք, խոսենք այս շատ կարևոր հարցի մասին, որ բարոն Դանի Թարքենյանը կեմպեյնի մեջ է Նևադայի մեջ։ Մեր հյուրն է բարոն Դանի Թարքենյանը Նևադա նահանգից, Լաս Վեգասի շրջանեն։ Danny, just before the break, we talked about the campaign, how expensive it is, and you mentioned the support of the Armenian community. I know, unfortunately, I can't vote. I'm from Southern California. I'm not from Nevada or Vegas, although we have businesses there. But what are your expectations from the Armenian community in Southern California?
Well, there's really not expectations. They've always been very generous and supportive of me, as my father was when he was a famous basketball coach. We were raised that Armenians take care of each other, and they certainly have. I have no idea how much the Armenian community will kick into this race or not. Whatever it is more than I would have without them. Mm-hmm. So I'm very grateful for it. I've met with many of the leading business Armenians here in Southern California. They made a commitment to help me substantially, and hopefully that carries through. We've started something which I think will take off. And we started a thing where people can't, sometimes there's a lot of people that want to see you win, they just don't have much money, mm-hmm. but they would like to see and do something. So we started with a 10 for Tark campaign, where we ask people, they can go to our website, which is Tark, TARKNV.com, and you contribute $10 a month to the rest of the primary, which is 8 more months. So you're looking at a $90 investment. If I can get 5,000 Armenians to give me that, we have about what I need to raise outside Nevada to win the race, mm-hmm. and that's not a whole lot, and it's what a lot of people can afford.
$10 a month. I mean, we have a very large, affluent Armenian American community. What about the rest of the country? Yeah. Because this will be, in my opinion, a national. Yeah. It's going to get high profile, yeah. because of you're challenging establishment, you're challenging a sitting U.S. senator. And the governor, who's also Republican, is on the other guy's side. So Trump may be involved in this. Maybe he may not in the primaries, but
he certainly isn't from my opponent.
Yeah, he's not on his side. That's for sure.
Won't be on his side, no.
Yeah. Look, so it is a big news, this thing.
Sure. Look, we're also doing a 10 for Tark with all the Trump supporters nationally, and there's a lot of them out there. And again, we can just get enough of them fully engaged. This guy stated when Trump needed him the most, those 4 months in the race, this guy stated publicly he vehemently opposed Trump's nomination. He wouldn't vote for him, and said a bunch of other horrendous things. And I was the only person who supported Trump. In fact, Donald Trump, I met him right before the election, 9 days before the election. He's in Las Vegas, and he thanked me for having the courage to stand by him when everybody else abandoned him, and complimented my dad on that. So, but if I can get some small contributions from a large number of Trump people, that makes a difference. But as I also mentioned, there's a lot of national interest. The Great American PAC, which is one of Donald Trump's 2 super PACs in the last race, they've indicated that they're going to get involved in my race, as they did for Moore in Alabama. I've received maximum contributions from probably a half dozen people outside of Nevada that are not Armenians already, and I need to do better with that. There's going to be some of them. There's several billionaires that are getting involved in the Arizona primary, where they don't like what Flake has done, mm-hmm. so they're going to support his opponent there. Mercer is one of them. I forget the names of the others, but there's several of them that are saying, hey, we want somebody in the Senate who's going to support the America First policy. So I'm hoping that they're, excuse me, I'm hoping they'll look at my race and they're going to say, hey, here's another person who will support the America First policies and help me get elected.
You met with Steve Bannon. What was his reaction?
Well, he asked to have the meeting. I was going to be in Washington.
Oh, he asked you to meet.
Yes, he's actually out meeting with different candidates that he thinks that will fight the establishment and win, and go to Washington, D.C. and support these America First policies. So he met with some people from Arizona before. He met with me, and then he also met with Moore after me, and he supported Moore in that race.
In Alabama.
So yeah, we had about a 30-minute conversation. He spent about 10 minutes of it telling me how much he liked my dad and how much he thought of which.
Well, he's an American icon.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know,
it's an Armenian icon too.
My dad took care of me when I was when he was here on Earth, and he's still taking care of me now, which is wonderful. But during the conversation, he said, it's nice to finally meet a candidate that exceeds my expectation. So I really appreciated that comment by him. And second of all, he said he'll be 100% behind me, and Breitbart will be
behind you?
Well, you can't say they're behind me. They're going to report accurately on the race.
Oh, exactly. That's a good thing.
Yes.
I heard there's also an Armenian fellow, Armenian-American, Andy Surabian.
Yes.
What is his role in this?
Andy used to work for the Tea Party Express, and he came in after they came out for my opponent and killed me in the 2010 race, and he apologized the next year about that and actually got me a contribution from that organization. After that, he went and started and worked for Donald Trump's
So he was at the White House. He was
his
policy advisor or something, and he quit that job.
Well, he was there, and he was close to Bannon. I think Bannon probably got him the job in the White House, but he was very close working with the policy issues dealing with Donald Trump. And when Bannon left, he asked Andy Sarian to come and run his super PAC, the Great America PAC. So it's a lot of power for a fellow Armenian.
To be there, one of us there. Yeah. We did speak with him when you were not home.
Yes.
And it's clearly, says he's Armenian American. So,
yeah.
Talk a little bit about Nevada politics. I know the governor is like a moderate, but is that what the state needs at this stage?
You know what? It's when we talk about labels, I think more importantly, you want to talk about character and what you expect from your elected officials. The governor we can leave to the side, but if you'd like, we can get into him. But the guy I'm running against, the thing that makes people most mad at him is he promises to do one thing when he's running for office, and then once he gets elected, does the exact opposite to appease some other type of voting bloc. And it infuriates people. Now, the governor's done some of that, too.
Exactly.
You call him moderate,
that's
but
the point.
And
he's the one appointed
oh, yes. Yeah. He appointed Dean Heller, who was a congressman at the time for the U.S. Senate seat. So obviously, he's supporting him here. He's the one that got Dean Heller to have that press conference where, I don't know how many of you viewers watched it, but it was really the press conference that destroyed the Republicans' chance of repealing Obamacare. Dean Heller and the governor came out and said, we're not going to support the Republican appeal because it doesn't cut Medicaid costs enough. And, to me, first of all, Medicaid's gone up 400% already. It was going to go up another $300 billion under the Republican bill. To me, the biggest problem with health care, the biggest problem with the Affordable Care Act, is it's not affordable for the people that pay for it. The middle-class, hardworking Americans that don't get federal subsidies, they got to pay for their own health insurance. Their premiums, like mine has gone up over 300%. My deductibles are up at 650%. It used to be $1,000, now it's $650. My copay to see a specialist went from $25 to $150. I hear these stories from all kinds of people that are working so hard just to provide for the family, and every year the insurance just keeps going up and up. This next year, my insurance is supposed to go up another 40%.
But the problem is, Danny, is the Republicans. I mean, they control the Senate, but they were not able to repeal it. I mean,
that's why
three senators, including John McCain from Arizona, and Susan Collins, and I think Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, killed the bill.
Yeah. Look, you need to repeal Obamacare because it's killing us right now, and it's going to get worse and worse every year. But we should also try to find a replacement that's going to lower the cost of health care. Look, you lower the cost of health care, you lower the amount of money we got to put into Medicaid. You lower the cost middle-class Americans are paying for it. We got to make sure we repeal it and get the right plan in there too. And
not just kill it because you have 20 million people dependent on it. At least have an alternative.
A better alternative that will solve the Affordable Care problem because it's not affordable. And they've had 7 years to come up with a plan. They talked about repealing it for 7 years. There should have been something there that they could have voted on and got it passed. That's why my opponent is in such a vulnerable situation right now, because he's a part of the mess that's being caused by this healthcare fiasco.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss the campaign in more details. Say, Paygamner, Ashat Garavor Nüte, պիտի գաշտատար մարնենք եւ պիտի տատարեն վերջը պիտի խոսենք այս հարցի մասին։ Սեր պայգամներ մեր այսօրվա նյութն է Նևադա նահանգին ընդրությունները, սենետի ընդրությունները եւ մեր հայորդի բարոն Դանի Tarkanian-ը գուզե սենատորը լալ Նևադա նահանգեն, եթե ասիգա Allah հայության համար, հայ ժողովրդին համար եւ հայ ամերիկյան քաղաքին համար մեծ ստեպ մնե, որ գունենանք առաջին անգամ լալով հայ սենատորը Ամերիկայի սենատին մեջ։ What I was trying to say, I hope you speak a little bit Armenian or you learned something.
The only thing I ever learned was Inchpezes. My grandmother passed away and she spoke Armenian fluently when I was 2 or 3 years old, so I apologize.
Okay. What I was saying in Armenian, let me phrase it, I said, this will be a great honor for the Armenian American community here in the United States, but also in the whole world, having an Armenian American to be a senator. I mean, this is be such a huge honor for us as a country, as a diaspora, even in Armenia itself. I think it will be huge.
I was inspired to get into public service because of a gentleman named George Dukmasian, which many of you know here in California.
Governor,
First Armenian governor in our country's history. And if I can be the first Armenian United States Senator in our country's history, there's going to be some little young Armenian right around that says, I want to be the first Armenian U.S. president in our country's history. And you just keep building upon that. And you know, that was a big inspiration for me to be in public service. But let me tell you, my race is even different. And it's more difficult because of it, but it's more exciting and the rewards are much more gratifying. Not only would I be the first Armenian U.S. Senator, my win would be the greatest political turnaround, I believe, since Abraham Lincoln. 5 losses, run against an incumbent senator that nobody gave you a chance to win. No one's done that since Abraham Lincoln, and even then, Abe lost 7 races, I believe, but he didn't lose them all in a row. This would be an incredible turnaround story, and why would we have that opportunity? It's because of the Armenian perseverance. No group of people have persevered more than the Armenian community, and it's something that is one of our greatest traits, and that's why I'm in this position to do it. Second of all, the fact that I supported Donald Trump when everybody else abandoned him, he thanked me for it, he knows my dad, and he understands why I support him. I believe I'll be a very close ally of his. I'll be able to get in and visit with him when other senators can't, because my understanding is he really respects loyalty and rewards loyalty, and that's what I've shown. So I can be a great story for the Armenian community. I can have an ear in President Trump where nobody else can get into him, and I think I can do some great things if I get this opportunity.
Would you push, let's take some Armenian issues, hot button issues for us. It's obviously recognition of the Armenian genocide is a major thing for Armenian Americans and most of us who are Armenians. Would you push for that?
Oh, absolutely.
Recognition? I mean, it's time now. After 100 years of crying and yelling, and still we can't pass that.
First of all, it was time 100 years ago. You know, my grandmother escaped the genocide. She was in a village when the Ottoman soldiers came in, and they took her father, who was one of the government people there, and forced him to watch his son beheaded, and then they beheaded him. She escaped into the mountains, and her mother sold some coins into her dress, and she got up to the mountains, and she saw the entire village being herded into her church and burned alive. Look, this is it was one of the most horrendous acts in humanity, and for our current society not to just recognize it. We're not even demanding, although that may be something later on, reparations and so forth. We're just saying acknowledge it. I mean, could you imagine if the Holocaust in World War II wasn't acknowledged, and what people would be saying? Why aren't they saying the same things about this not recognizing Armenian genocide? Absolutely, it needs to be done. And the thing is, they keep saying we need Turkey, and if we make Turkey mad, hell, Turkey needs us.
Yeah,
they need us.
I mean, they need us more than we need them,
Absolutely.
Probably. Even though we have a base in Incirlik, but we can do without that base.
And what are they going to do? They're going to align themselves with Russia?
Well, he's trying to do that. Yeah. Erdogan is a master politician. He's playing both sides.
Good luck with that one. They just shot down the Russian plane. Yeah. I'm sure they're real close with that. So the Russians, right after they just shot down their plane.
Armenia, would you help, number 2, from a political, diplomatic, as well as some aid, because Armenia needs financial aid from U.S. and maybe investment in Armenia to improve its economy, because its economy is very in a bad shape. Their GDP is 3,600 a year, which is the lowest in any of the former Soviet Union countries. So it is in a dire needs of support from U.S., even though the mentality being among both Democrats and even some Republicans that they're aligned with Russia and that's our enemy. Why would we help Armenia? So would you at least break that thinking that, hey, Armenia is a Christian country, Armenia is a pro-Western country, and most Armenians have relatives in U.S. or in Europe.
First Christian nation, and we're a Christian nation here.
Right.
I mean, we are aligned to one another, and we absolutely should. And I was really encouraged. I met with the ambassador of Armenia, and he said they're not asking so much for aid. They want to have the trade opportunities, open up the trade routes, which means that's like, hey, let's give this country an opportunity to build upon itself. You open up trade with the United States, then you give these people that have been struggling for so long the opportunity to start producing and making big profits off of it, and it'll turn the whole country around. And as you mentioned, there's so many successful Armenians that live here in the United States that they're giving millions of dollars back to that country. Of course we should be aligned with that country and try to help them any way we can.
Let's take our last few minutes talking about campaign. What are you going to do different? Obviously, you can't do the same thing.
No.
I mean, that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different results.
So you're talking about in my campaign?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah,
I mean, what are you going to do different, Danny? Are you going to go and fight and take fire with fire? Sometimes you have to. Like Trump, I like the way he operates. Yeah. You know why? If there's something, boom, that night he's on Twitter attacking the other person, and it works. I mean, you may not like it, but negative campaign and attacking your opponent very hard, it works.
Yeah, you know, Harry Reid, who I'm not a big fan of, they asked him once why he never ran any positive ads about himself. And he says because he didn't want to waste any money. he understood. And he said one thing is Harry Reid didn't get where he was because of his oratory skills or his personality. He did it because of his ruthless political.
He was a ruthless guy.
Ruthless. And he was very successful doing so. Yes, as I mentioned earlier in the show, we've already rolled up the sleeves. We're swinging away. We're not going to wait for them to punch us. We're punching them back.
Take the first punch.
We are hitting him so hard. And I mean, he came out with some ridiculous. My opponent, Danny Tarkanian, contributed to a Democrat. The Democrat was my mother, so they like to say stuff like that. So you know, we're just, you know, we've identified him. He's a deceitful dean. He doesn't tell the truth. He's flip-flopped on all these issues. So yes, we're going to fight back. And when we get to the general election, which I think this is the most important thing, is the only thing they've ever been able to use against me is this character assassination ads, which I've already won one defamation lawsuit on and got the judge to issue an order reaffirming that. We're going to hit her very hard on that, and we're going to go after her very, very hard. Plus, we're going to run a much better campaign. Elections are won now through the internet and social media, and we're investing much more in that than we ever had in the past.
You're not going to use the same consultant that you had done before?
No, we have no, we're not. And we're using a consultant that is very well liked with insurgent candidates in Washington, D.C. So I think we're in very good shape at this point. Now, again, they're going to throw a lot of money at me. It's happened in the past, particularly in primaries. And I've won out. We talk about some of my losses. I've won 4 out of the 5 primaries I've been in. And the only one I lost was when that Tea Party Express came at the very end. I would have won that one. I've always been the underdog in every single primary and won them. So I feel very good about our chances. Again, we can hope the Armenian community get behind me, because you can't win if you don't have the financial resources to get your message out. I don't need what my opponent will have. He'll have $8 million. If I have $2 million, I beat him.
In the primaries?
In the primary. I beat him.
So he has $8 million in his bank?
No, he has 3.5 right now, but he's raising $1 million to $1.5 million a quarter. There's 4 quarters left. So I figure we'll have probably $8 million when it's over. And if we have $2 million, I'll get outspent 4-1, just like I did in the last race. In the last race, I still won by 8%, because we had enough money to get the message out. Hey, look, I'm an honest guy. People know I'm honest. I got the courage to stand up for my convictions. I never give up. I keep fighting. And I have the leadership skills. I've shown this my whole life to get things done. That's what people want in Washington, D.C. They want somebody who's going to have those characteristics. My opponent, he lies, he deceives, and he does the opposite of what he promises. That's what people don't want in Washington, D.C. So you can't have a clear distinction between the two of us.
Danny, thank you so much. I mean, I support you. as an Armenian American, not because you're an Armenian American per se.
Yeah. I'm going to
but
tell you something.
you're a fighter.
I got to okay, first of all, I'm counting on the Armenian community, so go to tarknv.com, TARKNV.com, and join Tempa Tark. But I got to tell you the story. My dad had this Armenian on his team that won the national championship. He wasn't very good. So one of the reporters said to my dad, "You just kept Brian Immersion on the team because he's Armenian, didn't you?" My dad said, "No, I didn't. I kept Brian on the team because I'm Armenian."
Well, I can say the same thing, maybe. Well, we wish you the best of luck, and we're going to come to Nevada, to Las Vegas, and celebrate with you for the primaries as well as the general election.
I dream about that moment, believe me.
Me too. I want the best for you and your family, and Amy's a wonderful lady. I met her, and so we wish the best for you guys. Thank you. Սեր պայգամներ այս ծովով մենք կվերջացրենք մեր հայդակիրը, մենք կմաղթենք բարոն Դանի Թարքենյանին հաջողություն, որպես ամերիկահայ շահելու համար Նևադա նահանգին election-ը, ընտրությունները, որ թե primary է եւ հունիսին, թե նոյեմբերին general election-ը, եւ պիտի hopefully ընդրվի Նևադա նահանգին միակ կամ հայը, եթե շահի, մենք կմաղթենք իրեն հաջողություն։ Շնորհակալ ենք։
Հաղորդման հովանավոր Dignity Health Glendale Memorial Hospital